Thank you very much, and welcome to the joy of stress. Some of you are probably thinking, the joy of stress? What's so joyful about standing next to somebody in a supermarket line who's got 100 coupons so they can get 20 cents off a loaf of bread? What's joyful about being in traffic with somebody who failed driver's ed? And what about this person I live with who just won't study their relationship dictionary? How about the kids who fail to get to the bus every morning? I just don't know what to do. It's terrible. But we may have some answers here today because, you know, stress is positive or negative depending on how you look at it. And each and every one of us has within ourselves the power to decide how to interpret stressful events. We can do it with humor. We can do it with wisdom. Sometimes we can use some compassion. Sometimes we can use patience. And sometimes we can just accept the situation for what it is. But I think we ought to start right here with a little evaluation just to see how everybody in the audience is doing. How many of you have been stressed for the past week? Raise your hand. How about for the past month? How about for the past year? 10 years? Anybody a lifer? All right, now, I used to be quite calm, but then all of a sudden, because I don't include myself in this, I became menopausal. Anybody here menopausal? Some of the men are raising their hand. But I discovered a little humor in menopause when I found a T-shirt that said, "I'm out of estrogen and I have a gun." Now, let me ask you this other question about stress, because some people perceive this as a stressor. How many of you haven't had enough sex lately? A couple of people in the room, huh? Well, you know, I just a little aside about this. You might want this information. You know why a lot of people are stressed about sex now? It's because they don't have time. And they don't have the ability to fit it into their schedule. So they're exhausted and tired, and there's no time for sex. And how do I know this? Well, this has now reached sort of an epidemic, and Oprah Winfrey had a show on this, and she had several tired couples on one afternoon. And she had a psychiatrist on to help the tired couples, you know, the study of the id by the odd. And what the psychiatrist told the tired couples was to put it in their organizer, which I thought was quite spontaneous and delightful. So now on Friday night, you have another job. Now, I can think of a better method, and I happen to have one myself, but what I like to do is I just tell my husband to start without me. I tell him when it sounds good, I'll be in. You might want to put that in your schedule. Now, if you haven't noticed already, there seems to really be a lot of catastrophizing and awfulizing in our society. Have all of you noticed that? Every day people are just going around, isn't it awful? Oh, it's just so bad. I don't know what to do. It's just terrible. In fact, I go into a lot of corporate places, and the first thing that I hear from some of the employees is, it's bad here. It's so bad here, you have no idea. And of course, they're not content with it being bad just then. They want to predict more for later. So they'll say, it's going to get much worse. And I say, well, that's true, and it'll probably get better when you leave. And unfortunately, a lot of us are doing that on a daily basis. 75% of daily conversation is negative. 75%. That's why my mission in life is truly to stop global whining. I think we should all stop global whining, don't you? How many of you have started whining when you notice the weather? Something you have no control over. Oh, it's raining. Now I'm going to have to struggle with that. God only knows. Probably accidents. Going to be terrible. It's going to take me much longer to get there than normal. And of course, you turn on the radio in the car, and do they leave you alone? No, they tell you what's happening in the tunnel, beyond the tunnel, even in the next planet. Isn't that true? Now, why do we need to know that information? Kids get up in the morning, they say, hey, it's raining. Let me go jump in the puddles. I can't wait to jump in the puddles, but, well, I'm going to get wet. Isn't that sad? Then how many of you look in the mirror? Start in on yourself like, how did this happen? How did this happen? I can't believe it. I got heavy. I don't know how I got heavy. It just happened. I used to own a fitness center, and I taught aerobics. Can you tell? And anytime I asked people how they got heavy, they'd say, well, I went to a wedding. I said, you got like this at one wedding? And of course, there's all the people who are bloated. Do you know how many people are bloated? It's like a nation of walking waterbeds. So now it's raining, and you're bloated. And of course, you're probably tired. Because this is another thing. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Now, what do we expect after we say that 7 times? Have you ever seen anybody walking down the street going, I'm so tired? No, that's not the way it is. You obviously start to feel how you think. And for most of us, I think we like to feel bad. I'm beginning to think there's a misery gene. What do you think? I truly think there's a misery gene, because a lot of us keep sharing how awful we feel. I want you to consider how often in your lifetime, or even this week, let's just take this week, you have told somebody that you have a headache. Oh, I have such a headache. My head is killing me. And then, of course, we want to increase it because we're not satisfied with one headache. We want to tell people that we have several headaches. In fact, I get them every day now. And my back is killing me most of the time. My back always hurts. And my stomach, oh, I can't take it. No matter what I eat, it bothers my stomach. Why is it that Valium and Tagamet are the most widely sold drugs in the country? Because you don't go to a doctor and he says, hey, laugh it up. You'll feel better in no time. No, we want to take pills. Well, that's all well and good when they're necessary, but we probably could change that. And then, how many of you tell people that you haven't even been able to go to the bathroom today? See, we want to make sure Make sure that the suffering is rampant and total. Oh, I just don't even have the opportunity to pee. Now tell me, why is it we don't go up to somebody and say, you know, I peed profusely today. I am totally empty. I am so light I could float. Because we like to be martyrs. How many of you have noticed the amount of martyrdom that goes on now? Martyrs all over the place. Oh. Oh. I can't have any fun today. I haven't had fun in so long. But I can have fun today because I'm not done. Maybe when I'm done, I'll have fun. But not right now. It's funny, I come from an Italian family, Sicilian. And my grandmother had the whole thing together on martyrdom. She used to wear black in case somebody died. She used to wear a hair shirt during the war because the boys were overseas. And she had huge cannonball rosary beads, which she fingered constantly. And she would always say, oh, I suffer so much. When the boys come home, then I laugh. Very strange phenomena. Because they used to write and say, we're laughing. My grandfather, on the other hand, was an optimist. He loved to laugh. He would laugh anytime he could. And you know, it's not as if he didn't have something to suffer over. He only had one arm. But he thought he had two. Anytime anybody was having a bad time, he'd go up to them and say, you're having trouble because you only have two hands. I'm going to have to help you because I have one. Eternal optimist. And you know what they've discovered? That optimists actually live longer. Pessimists are accurate, but they don't live as long. Now, I think it would be a great idea to become a martyr and use it as a tool for humor. If you want to be a martyr, get yourself a martyr kit. Get a piece of Velcro, put a piece around your wrist, another around your head, snap it together. Then you can go around telling everybody, oh, nobody cares. And you know what? They don't. And see, there's a lot to be a martyr about today, too, because I forgot to include something. We can't even enjoy things today. Can you enjoy things without being reported? When's the last time you ate down and sat down at a meal and you just ate and drooled all over yourself and went, ah, oh, delightful. Now there's somebody there saying, how many grams are you having? How many grams? What's your cholesterol count? What's your HDL, LDL, and every LDL? This is what people talk about now when they're at parties. Now, I think it's wonderful to know these statistics, and I believe in eating well so you can extend your life for however long you can do it. But imagine eating low-fat and being mad about it. So there you are. I'm having my low-fat. I'm going to live a very long time, as miserable as possible. You know, Dr. David Sobel wrote a wonderful book that I recommend to everybody. It's called Healthy Pleasures. And in it, he says, eat every once in a while, eat because it's a joy. And we're missing that, aren't we? We go home. Do you ever smell anything when you go home anymore? What do you smell when you go home? The microwave? No, you don't sit down and enjoy your food and discuss it. When I was growing up, we ate and then we discussed what we were going to eat when we finished. In other words, where were we going to go to buy the meal for tonight? You didn't walk in the house and pop something in and it went, beep. That's what we really need to do. We need to go back to enjoying things, because today everything's about deprivation and suffering, isn't it? Let's suffer, suffer, suffer. And you know, you are going to suffer. Why practice? And you know, you actually start to look like you think. If you're suffering a lot and you're squeezing a lot, you know, there's a lot of people squeezing, not only suffering, they're squeezing. These are the people who are in charge of everything, who want everything done, and who are just caught up in themselves and their titles. You know, I'm in charge, I'm in charge. I'm in charge of everything. I'm here to take over the universe. I'm director of the universe. You know, it doesn't even matter if they're in charge of anything. There are people who are in charge of folding towels who do the same thing. No one folds the towels like I do. Well, who cares? There's a name for that. It's called anal retention. You start to look like you're holding quarters between your cheeks. Some people look like they're holding dimes. And you know what? We may get the opportunity here to drop some change. Dropping the quarter is the ultimate aha. Instead of, oh, no. And see, we all want to shift from, oh, no, to aha. We want to get it before it gets us, don't we? Leo Buscaglia knew a lot about this. He used to go up to people and say, how do you feel? People would say, fine. He'd say, why don't you tell your face? And you know what's interesting? They've actually done research on facial expressions. Dr. Robert Zients has been studying this for years, and he's discovered that how you look ultimately makes you feel a certain way. And that's why there's such great importance to looking, changing, and sort of feeding into the emotion that you might want to have. He actually found that even pretending to feel a certain way gets you there. It's called fake it till you make it. So I'd like all of you in the audience to try a few faces right now. I want you to put on your grumpiest look. Try a grumpy look. How does that feel? And this is actually the way most people look when they're walking around. If you see somebody like that, you think that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be. In fact, there are workshops on how to handle people like this. How to deal with difficult people. If you see somebody that's like this, you think, they're strange. So let's all try it, everybody. Big toothy grin. Now, how do you feel? Feel better, don't you? Because your mind is saying, I think we're happy. I think we're happy. So, what I think we ought to do is get into a little bit of a laughter before we go on to the next phase of this. And we need to practice, you know, because children really laugh just throughout their whole body, don't they? Don't they just crack up? That's a real guffaw, isn't it? And you know, most adults don't get it. According to research, by the time you're an adult, you're lucky if you're cranking out 15 laughs a day. That's from 400 when you're 4 to 15 when you're an adult. And have you ever heard the laughs? Ah-ha. 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 That's because you can't squeeze and laugh at the same time. Now, what I'd like to do with all of you is show you what a belly laugh looks like and feels like. So we're going to do the preliminary work, and then when we come back, we're going to go through the entire guffaw. So are you ready for this? All right. Big toothy grin. Now, this is very important. And I would suggest you start this as soon as you wake up. You open your eyes, you look around, and you say, I'm back. Somebody says, who cares? You go next door and you try it there. Now, I've teased you a little bit about the laugh, haven't I? And I got you giggling a little bit. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to continue our little laugh when we return. Well, we're back for more laughter. Did any of you have to call people you don't like in between? Just so you could suffer for a few minutes? Well, I think we're going to go back to our laugh and sort of recap it so we can get through the whole thing. And this is very important, the laugh and the guffaw, because this can really build up your immune system and help you throughout life. You actually can stack up, sort of have residual benefits. Well, Norman Cousins used this to help heal himself of something called ankylosing spondylitis, and that took me forever to even say. And he found that when he laughed for 2 hours, he didn't have to take pain medication for quite some time. So let's all try this. Are you ready? Here we go. Big toothy grin. Now remember, it has to be wide and toothy. Now I want you to show your molars. If you don't have any, show your gums. And we need everybody to do this, including the men. Sometimes men have a little bit of a problem getting involved and looking a little silly in front of each other. You know that routine. That's why they never ask for directions. You've been with a man when you've been lost, haven't you? You say, where are we? They say, we're almost there. Well, why don't you ask that person? Well, what does he know? Well, he knows where you are. That's why Moses was in the desert for 40 years. If he had had a woman with him, she would have asked the burning bush. They would have been out of there. So now we have everybody involved, don't we? We did our big toothy grin. Now open your eyes. This makes you look alert. Now raise your eyebrows. This makes you look tall and thin. That's your new low-fat face. Now everybody, reach down and grab hold of your belly. Keeping in mind that you must take ownership of whatever you've created. If you fed it, it's yours. Now, some people are lucky. They have different sections they can hang on to. So just decide which layer you want to hang on to. Now, if you don't have enough of your own, hang on to the person next to you. Now, the next part is very easy. I want you to look at somebody's face so that you can experience joy yourself by looking at somebody else. So look at somebody's face, hang on to your belly, and on the count of 3, we're all going to go, and we're going to try to laugh for 30 seconds. I don't know if I can handle that much joy. Well, see if you can handle it anyway. You ready? Here we go. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, doesn't that feel excellent? Of course it does. But see, I prove my point every time when I express a desire to do this with adults in my workshops. The first response is, If I had been saying this to a group of 3 or 4-year-olds, and I said, we're going to laugh for 30 seconds, you know what would happen? Practically the whole group would go, I could do it for much longer. But see, the adult in us, because we've grown to get to the point where we don't have time to enjoy ourselves, I mean, I may have fun someday. That's too long. 30 seconds is too long. You ever had a kid stop at your house, 3 or 4 years old, knock on the door, say, can I come in? I'm exhausted from playing. Maybe I can clean your toilet or something. We even had some people time it. They were timing it to see how long. Wanted to make sure it didn't go too long. And there's wonderful benefits to laughter. There really are. You ought to have a humor room in your house. You ought to have one in the place you work at. You should have a joy gang, a jollyologist. Well, when people play along the way, they actually increase productivity, don't they? Because you stop watching the clock. You stop saying, is it time for my break? Is it Friday yet? Maybe Sunday I'll enjoy myself. But I don't have too much time. Maybe when I go on a trip, but they don't pay me enough. When I get the money, the pitiful substance, I'll go someplace I don't like, and I'll be unhappy there. And then you die. Your family gets your money, and they go on a trip. So don't wait. Laugh every day. It's very important. Learn from children. Children laugh just about any time they feel like it because they're in the moment, don't they? And they try to get what they need when they can, too, don't they? They're like woodpeckers. Anytime any one of my grandchildren comes to visit and they want something, they never stop. I want a cookie. I want a lollipop. Wait a minute. I want a cookie. I want a lollipop. Wait a minute. I want a cookie. I want a cookie. I want a cookie. I want a cookie. Woodpecker drills. And they do things very spontaneously. Unfortunately, I don't have all of my grandchildren nearby, but I have one that periodically I get to see, and she's a hoot. I go over there for treatment periodically. I went over there recently, and she was standing stark naked in the living room, in high heels. And she was applauding herself. When's the last time you did that? I decided I was going to try that because I loved it. And I like to sort of do these things to my husband because he's much more conservative than I am. So I greeted him one night, stark naked, in wingtips. And the first thing he said is, "What are the neighbors going to think?" I said, "I don't know. I haven't shown them yet." But see, that's a typical response why a lot of us don't do a lot of things, even laugh. I mean, when you're doing that, a little exercise, how many of you feel foolish or you start to think, is anybody watching? I wonder if anybody's watching. I wonder if they are watching. Well, you know, they are everywhere, don't you? I saw them in a van coming up here in the expressway. See, it's very easy to get tuned into they because you start learning this principle when you're a little kid. Little kids are here and there. They move around a lot, don't they? They never stop moving. They make funny faces. But by the time you're 3, you're given 350,000 no's. Stop it. Sit down. Be quiet. Who do you think you are? Just who do you think you are? Do any of you remember the fact that you couldn't use the good scissors? Please don't use my good scissors. Well, what does that mean? What pair should I use? I guess I should use the pair that don't cut. Well, you start to internalize that information, don't you? You start to put yourself on the back burner. You start to wait. Maybe there's a right time to do these things. So you start saving stuff. Start waiting for a special occasion. I remember as a kid I had a pair of underpants my mother didn't let me wear. Because they were too good. I still have them. They just don't fit anymore. That's the whole point, is it? To keep them new so they stay in the drawer. You get to have an observance once in a while. How many of you have good dishes? Nobody can sit at the table and use the good dishes, especially the family. The family doesn't deserve these things. They get to eat off the chip china. Drink it out of the jelly glasses. Then when people you don't know come over, you say, "Hey, come on in. You can eat off these dishes. We don't know who you are, but it's fine." How about the good room? How many of you tell your family, "Please, don't go in that room. I just cleaned it." No problem. We'll sit in a filthy room. Maybe we can go outside and look at through the window of the clean room. And then, most importantly, there's that real special occasion, death. Have you ever been to a funeral where people actually walk around saying, they look fabulous. They've never looked this good. Have you ever seen them look this good? That's because somebody finally went to their closet, got their good stuff, and put it on them. A special occasion. Think of the rules and regulations so many of us are invested in from this committee that's up there judging, telling you what to do, how to do it, when to do it. How many of you made sure that you organized your home before you left today? Just in case. One of the things my mother always said to me is, "You never know." I don't know what you don't know, but you never know. So, of course, you have to make your bed, because you never know. What if somebody stops by? What if the bed checkers come over? So you go through your whole life with this fear that people you have never met might come over your house and check your beds. And you tell people, I'm not going out. I didn't finish the bed. I had some people in a workshop once who told me they could never leave their house until they did all the dishes. I said, take them with you. Put them in the car. Then they'll never find them. And think of the underwear. How many of you wear your underwear every day? Now, do you put it on, and as you put it on, you say, oh, joy, ecstasy. I can't wait to take a look at them periodically. No, we wear them because we could be in an accident. We don't want to be in an accident, right? Especially if we don't have clean underwear on. Nobody stops to think rationally about these things. The fear is so embedded. What if I am in an accident? Will my underwear stay clean for long? And see, this is at the root of a lot of our irrationality. And irrationality is what causes upsetness. And upsetness is what causes anxiety. And anxiety often leads to depression. And then, bingo, no humor. So I would say, take a look at your committee. Who's on it? See your mind like a big bus. Put your committee on board and take them for a ride. Look in the mirror in the morning and say, I'm driving the bus. I don't think I'll wear underpants, and I'm not making my bed either. See, if you really look at life the way it's meant to be, you're the only one that can make you happy. No one else can. You're driving the bus, ultimately. Now, let me give you a few quirky ways to laugh at yourself, because everybody in this room's a joke. They just don't get it sometimes. We're all a walking sitcom, aren't we? And there's nothing funnier than the things that come out of your lips. How many of you have ever gone someplace and told somebody, I always get the slow line? Oh, always get the slow line. How many of you get the slow line? And of course, we want to tell people over and over so we can suffer before we go. Then when we get there and we get it, we're so excited because we were right. But we really don't have to get overly anxious about being in a slow line, especially if we exaggerate the context of what we tell ourselves what ordinarily disturbs us. Exaggerate the humor in it. The next time you go to the supermarket, look around. Say, my God, they're back. See, oftentimes irrationality is because we think we're the center of the universe. It's as if there's a plot that people are sent to wherever we are. So if they are wherever we are, enjoy them. Say, wow, it's so fascinating having you in the store with me again. I use this principle sometimes with people when they're catastrophizing and awfulizing, especially in supermarkets, because it's very funny. I had this woman next to me. She was beating a loaf of bread to death. She said, every time I come in here, it fills up with people. I said, isn't that odd? The same thing happens to me. She said, something's going on. I said, well, I noticed the manager. He goes in his office, and he's calling people up. And they're coming here to see you and I. She finally got it, and she went, ah. She dropped her quarter right in the aisle. Now, a few humorous ways of seeing stress a little differently. Remember, we said wit and wisdom. I would suggest you get yourself a pair of these. Use them when you're driving through traffic. Especially when you have to merge. People don't let you in, put them on. I've done it many times, and they often go, come on in. Use them when you're driving, when you're in the supermarket. Get your card. Beep, beep. You'll notice that the kids get it right away. They wave and they say, "Hi, lady." You can hear the parents, "Don't talk to that woman." More importantly, use them on yourself. Look in the mirror every day and say, "How serious is this?" Get yourself some costumes. For those of you who are perfectionists and you want your house viewed by all people because of the things you've done, get yourself a cape. I have a little ta-da cape. Put this on, swoop around your house. Tell people, "Look at the oven. I just finished cleaning it." Swoop around your workplace. Tell people, "It's a good thing I'm here. I don't know what would happen if I wasn't in." If you like to be in charge and you're really in control and you love everybody to know it, get yourself one of these. Put this on. Walk around your workplace. "I'm in charge of everything. I'm not even going to the bathroom. I can't leave my desk." Try it at home if you're having an argument with a loved one. This is what I love to do. I put the hat on, I go out in the yard, and I stand there. My husband always says, "Get in the house." I just fold my arms and say, "Did I win?" He always says, "Come in. You won." Because he's got the neighbors on his committee. Try it when your kids are nagging you and they want you to take them places and you're sick and exhausted. Say, "Come on, I'll take you to the mall. Let's go." You may not be ready for that version. You may need a training version. And for those of you who are martyrs, I'm sure there's some of you out there, you probably want to get yourself one of these so you can be as helpful as possible without doing a thing for yourself. You know me, I'm always there. I'm almost dead, but it doesn't matter. Someday when I'm gone, they'll know how really good I was. Yes, and then they'll sell you dishes. Now, of course, if none of this information has mattered to you one way or the other, and you want to insist on catastrophizing, awfulizing, whining, and moaning, then I would get a whip. Anytime you have the opportunity, self-flagellate. As soon as you start the day, "God, it's awful. It's raining and I'm bloated." But for the most part, keep this in mind. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Thank you.